This month we have Luck of the Irish. So we've got our 4-leaf clover here that has a clever little Irish knot symbol in there, Celtic knot symbol, or Celtic, depending on how you want to say that, sewn into the center. Not a lot to worry about with putting pieces on in this case, because you only have one piece. So you've got your pre-cut 4-leaf clover with a little bit of design to it. My caution to you would be this. All of these little things, you can see here, if you pull on that too much, it comes off. So this one's thinking about coming off, although that one will be fine once it's sewn. But here, if you mess around with them too much, they're going to pull right off on you. You can also be very thankful that these are pre-cut for you, because these would be really hard to cut with scissors. I think we can all agree on that. So putting it in place, not a big deal. So we're not going to spend much time focused on the piece and sewing this month. Instead, we're going to look at the pattern in the middle. All right, so I think this is pretty intimidating, right? The idea of having to create this sort of complicated design in the middle of this ornament or block that I'm holding here. And I want to show you a few steps that you could follow to make that using a marking pen. Now, early on, I did all of these by hand, and you can see this one here. It's a little bit lopsided, a little off center, but I was just sewing it freehand. Fun fact, if you happen to order a personalized ornament, all of that writing is done freehand. And my reasoning behind that is, when I was making pillows, I would try to use a marking pen to make my my name on those pillows to personalize them. And then I was always using one of those blue water-soluble marking pens. Well, it turns out blue water-soluble marking pens are not friends with felt or off-white felt. So as I was trying to wet it to have it disappear, all it was doing was bleeding further into the felt, which was super frustrating. So I changed my ways. And again, I did a lot of doing this by hand. So there's one that was done by hand. This one I just did with the marking pen. And in fact, I haven't even removed the marking pen from this at this point, and you can hardly see it. You can see a little bit here. See this white down in here? That's the kind of marking pen we're going to use. So let's deconstruct this symbol in the middle, so we don't have to be too intimidated by it. All right, so as you start to try to draw this, you want to start out making a circle of whatever size you'd like it to be to fit in this pattern. And then the next step is going to be to put this arch in, which is basically going through the center point of that circle. So if we keep that in mind, and that each of these little points is supposed to go beyond the circle, I think it breaks it down into something that's easier to try to draw on here. I suppose the caveat is, if you really don't want to do this with this ornament, you know, it is no harm, no foul, right? So here's the marking pen that I selected. I didn't pick any particular brand off of, you know, somebody's recommendation. I just knew that I needed something that was going to be either white or black to show up on the dark felt. This happened to be the cheapest one. So this one happens to be by Clover. It has a really nicely fine tip on it. Now, here's the thing that I found with this. So when I go to draw here, so I'm going to try to put this circle on here. It takes a little bit of doing to put that marking in there. So see, I'm just sketching that circle in. It's kind of hard to see. You got to give it a moment to have it show up. Now, it doesn't show up that well here, but that's fine. It only needs to show up enough so you can sew over it. All right, so we make your circle in the middle, and then we talked about the next thing you want to do. So you got your middle point here. We're going to make an arc, and we're going to arc out, and you want to go beyond the outside of your circle, and then bring this back in, and then do the other side. So there's your bottom two kind of lobes to that center pattern. And then the top one, again, you're going to go outside the circle about the same amount, come down to that center point, And there's your design in your little white pen. Now again, you can't see it that great, but you can see it enough to sew over it, so that's the important thing. Now, the next thing that's frustrating with doing this is dealing with this metallic thread. I have this pre-threaded because no one wanted to see me try to struggle with this. But here's the thing with the metallic thread. A whole strand of it is, of course, our six strands. And then within those 6 strands, when you go to pull this apart, you quickly discover that there's more little bits and pieces in there. It looks like there's 2 here. I bet if I messed with this more, it would actually come apart even more. It's basically metallic, usually thread around and a regular piece of thread in there. So trying to thread these is really, really difficult. The only advice I have for you is keep snipping the end until you can manage to get it through the needle. And then you're just going to backstitch this. So nothing fancy going on here. I always do the circle first. That gives you an idea where you're at. Of course, this is going to be hard for me to do, I think, on video, but I'll give it a shot. So you're going to sew around your circle, just doing all your little back stitches. Again, no one wants to watch me sew all of this. Here we go. There's our annoying gold thread getting stuck on things. Again, have patience with this thread. You can see it's already out of alignment. It doesn't stay stuck to each other. It's very, very slippery. So it does tend to separate. So the whole moral of the story when working on this project is to pack your patience and don't get frustrated if it doesn't work out. You can always start over again. So here I'm just sewing my circle. So there's our basic back stitch. So once you have this sewn on here, if you're using this particular type of pen, so this pen is subject to disappearing when it says that you can use water on it. And again, we've already determined that water and felt are not friends. You can use your iron to make this disappear. So let's see. And again, this is very difficult to see on here, but there's a little bit. You can see when I drew this, I was a little off of where I wanted to be. Again, I'm used to freehanding them, so I just corrected it as I went. I'm going to take, now remember, don't ever take and put your iron directly on your felt because you're going to melt it. I'm going to put my iron on there. And voila, it magically disappears. So your little marking pen, gone as quick as that. So I think, I think using this approach is a good thing for this month's ornament because it gives you some more confidence to do that little pattern in the middle. So give that a try. I think this pen was like $8, and of course I had a coupon or whatever. So not a huge investment. I don't think the brand is necessarily important. That said, I haven't tried any others. But if you go with the heat removing ink, I think you're going to be a lot better off than the water soluble. Water soluble on felt, not a good thing. So, all right. So have fun with your little tribute to the Irish for the month of March, and I'll see you next month.